In order to flourish in the area that the Lord is calling you to be in, you must put yourself in that area. You must put yourself in opportunity's way. You must take the first step of what? We all know the answer. We must take the first step of faith. We must not trust our feelings or ourselves. We must trust in God that when we put ourselves out there, when we listen to what the Lord is calling us into, when we listen to what Jesus is calling us into, when we put ourselves in that area, that He will flourish us because we have now stepped out in faith rather than being held back by fear. We can see this in the book of Genesis. Sarah and Abraham. Sarah has just died. Abraham is looking at a place where to bury her, a place on burying her to honor her. And where does he decide? He decides to bury her, to try and bury her within the promised land that he does not yet own yet, but he knows that the Lord has promised to him, where he knows that the Lord has planned to put him in his lineage. So what does he do? He starts trying to purchase land. All these people are trying to give it to him for free, but no, he wants to purchase land. He wants to take the opportunity to purchase land and establish himself within this land by trusting and stepping out in faith and burying himself symbolically, putting himself symbolically within the promised land before he even owns the promised land. Why am I saying symbolically? Because Abraham and Sarah are one flesh because they're married. And thus he is symbolically burying himself, burying his rib within the promised land, thus having faith in the Lord that he will actually deliver on the promise that he has given him. But when we sit back, when we take time of waiting for our feelings to get right into waiting for the perfect weather to happen, that's when time is wasted. That's when we miss out on opportunity. That's when we realize one day that we should have taken that opportunity when the opportunity was still there, when we were still young, when we were still able, when we didn't get caught up in distraction, and when we truly realized that we didn't have faith at that moment in time. And I'm telling you this now because it's time to move on faith. It's time to act on faith. Because what is faith counted as? Faith is counted as righteousness. Faith in the Bible healed people. Jesus said it was your faith that healed you. Great is thy faith. Abel had faith to a point where his offering was taken rather than Cain's. And that's a lot about Cain. Abel didn't work this amount of time, this amount of years. He didn't prepare it for this long to be able to have it received. He had faith and thus it was received. So by faith and not fear of waiting for everything to be in compliance, waiting for the perfect weather to happen, waiting for the rain to stop, waiting for the Lord just to hand it on to us, rather than waiting on those things, it's time to get up, time to step out in faith, and time to put yourself within the promised land, put yourself in that area so the Lord can start developing you in that area. Because why will He develop you now? Because He knows you are not moving by fear now. He knows that you're now moving by faith. And it's by faith that we flourish. It's by faith that we're healed. It's by faith that we're forgiven. It's by faith that we're counted as righteous. It's by faith that we have the opportunity of salvation and the opportunity to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Have faith.